You will never hear from me in this lifetime. If we end up in the same place once all this earthly stuff is said and done, perhaps we'll speak then. But any other time before that, absolutely not. Please never speak to me again, ever in your whole life. But I'm sitting at yes, I'm sitting at Hello A-listers, it is me Ashley, and today I am doing a Q&A for you guys. I asked you to ask me questions and send in your assumptions over on my Instagram, so if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you do. I'll have it on the screen, and then also subscribe to my channel to join the A-list so you don't miss any of my new uploads. Make sure you turn on that post notification bell and like this video. Give it a big huge thumbs up if you like question and answer videos or assumption videos, so I know to make more of this like content for you guys. So I got a lot of questions about dating, like a lot and I just like I noticed that I don't talk about dating, my dating life, so yeah. So that's the topic that we're going to cover first. Let's just get it over with, okay? So the first question says, are you dating anyone special right now? So I'm open to dating, but I would say that my personal relationship that I have with myself is definitely taking priority, especially during the pandemic. So the blatant answer is no, I'm not dating anyone right now. I know the question says anyone special, but I'm just not dating anyone at all right now. And I think dating during the pandemic, when you're starting like from scratch, you know, you don't have a pandemic partner, you're not on the brink of engagement or marriage, it's really tricky because it's not like the dating pool was all that to begin with. And so now you have this pandemic, and I think to keep this short so that I don't say too much, I just kind of feel like men's priorities during the pandemic are just not women. But I feel like men's priorities are like their job, their family, their group chat, their friends, their hobbies. It seems like everything under the sun except for like actually prioritizing women and honoring women's love language and stuff like that. So if anything, the pandemic has shown me that men will do exactly what they want to do, and not talking to you on a consistent basis could be one of those things, and not prioritizing spending quality time with you could be one of those things. And if anything, I feel like I should take a page out of their book and do what it is that I want to do and do what it is that benefits me. And right now, I think that's just focusing on my platforms, YouTube, Instagram, things like that. So this next question says, have you completely healed from your last relationship? And that was about 2 years ago. So I would definitely say yes, I've completely healed from my last relationship with the help of my therapist. I think healing from that relationship was easy is not the word that I want to gravitate towards, but for me, breakups aren't really that difficult. I've never been in love before, so that makes ending relationships really easy because I've never really felt like, you know, I've been in love, which means I've never really had my heart broken. It says more about me than anything else, and I constantly bring myself to the red table, and like I'm extremely self-aware, so I have no problems admitting this because it is the truth. But I haven't chosen to date anybody or get in a relationship with anybody. I've only been in like 2.5 relationships anyway, but I haven't chosen to date anybody that is like the one that got away. I haven't chosen like to date anybody that I regret not still being in a relationship with them to this day. The breakups that I've gone through have been better for the both of us. You know, it was better for the both of us. And also, it's not like we were gonna get married. So I will say healing from my last relationship took me realizing that I was I was in a good place and I was doing my inner work and I was healing, going to therapy and really working on my mental health. And I just decided to meet his energy instead of maintaining my standards, because at my core I have really high standards, but when it comes to who I've chosen, those standards have obviously not been honored. I would make the active decision, which was foolish when I look back on it, but I would make the active decision to meet their energy and then not try to change them, but kind of like try to lead by example. Like, I'm gonna meet you here, but ideally I would like to be here. When if I had just stayed here, we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now. And I also foolishly thought that, like, I thought I was a catch, and I am, but I had to really heal, because while I am a catch, and while I definitely was a catch in that situation in particular, you can't go into situations banking on, like, oh, I'm a catch, like they're not gonna do anything to. Don't ever think that ever a day in your life. So, have I healed? Definitely. I'm the type of person who, like, breakups are really easy because I don't go back and forth and break up to make up and break up to make up and block and unblock you and hang out with you and da 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 da. I really, once I make my mind up that we are never speaking again, I block and I never speak to you again. You will never hear from me in this lifetime. If we end up in the same place once all this earthly stuff is said and done, perhaps we'll speak then. But any other time before that, absolutely not. Please never speak to me again, ever in your whole life. That makes it so much easier because I don't keep gifts, I don't keep the text thread, I don't keep pictures, I don't keep anything. I get rid of anything that has any ties to their energy, and I just completely act as though it never happened. It is the easiest way to deal with it, but don't tell my therapist that, because she's probably going to be like, we need to unpack that. So that leads me to the next question, which is, how do you get over a breakup? So one of the things that I really admire about myself, it still needs tweaking, but I'm always, like, my gut is, like, always right. And I believe people when they show me who they are, especially when I'm given a valid reason to believe this is who they are. I feel like I used to ignore red flags, and I used to feel like I was being too hard on people and I really needed to cut people slack, like people I was dating. So, number one, I've definitely learned to trust my gut. If I feel like, okay, something's not really adding up, I feel like this person is showing me who they actually are, I look to see if their words and their actions align. And like I said in my previous question that I answered, if you give me a valid reason, I will never speak to you again. All you gotta do is give me a valid reason. Typically, breakups have a valid reason for occurring. So that's one easy way to get over a breakup, because like I said, you can just act like it never happened, and it's easier to heal from something that never occurred. I think a big part of getting over a breakup, like I keep reiterating, is getting rid of anything that reminds you of this person. Do not dabble back and forth. Do not keep opening the door. But then also, something that I've learned, and this may not work for everybody, but I've learned this in therapy, is I like to put the onus on me. So I personally don't like to victimize myself. If somebody betrayed you, if somebody was disloyal to you, if somebody hurt you, if somebody, abused you in any way, it's not a matter of why they did it. Really, it's a matter of they did it. I like to, this is something I've learned in therapy, and again, this may not work for you, but it really, really helps me, because I used to really struggle with forgiveness, because I used to get so caught up on, like, well, why, if this person loves me, or why, if this person cared about me, or why, if this person had any affinity for me, why would they disrespect me? Why would they hurt me? Why would they betray me? Why would they do this to me? And instead of keeping myself in that vicious why circle, because I'll never get the answer, Because how likely is it for the person who hurt you to tell you the truth? And then what does that do if they actually do tell you the truth? You know, how does that help? So for me, I put the onus on me and I say, well, let me hold them accountable for what it is that they did, because they did it, and it doesn't matter why they did it. They did it. So that's theirs. That's their cross to bear. But I also played a role in this by allowing them into my life. If I had maintained my standards, or, you know, sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate your standards altogether. If I had maintained my standards that I was raised to have in the first place, then we wouldn't be having this problem. But I didn't maintain my standards. And why is that? Let's explore that. Put the onus on me so that I can forgive myself, because if I can forgive myself, I can forgive you. But if I'm so busy victimizing myself and asking myself, well, why? Why did they do this? Why did they do this? Then it makes it hard to forgive you, because I feel like I didn't do anything. And I did do something. I allowed you in my life in the first place. So getting over a breakup for me is easy because of how self-aware I am, because I have this trait that I really, really admire about myself, where I don't go back and forth and hot and cold, and we don't dip and dabble constantly. So I'm not constantly re-traumatizing myself by exposing myself to my torturer as though that's my remedy. Like, that's not how this works. And then, like I said, just putting the onus on me, realizing the part that I played in it, even if it's just being a participant, even if it's just letting the person in my life, I played that part. I did that. You know what I'm saying? And so in doing that, it's easier to forgive myself, and then I can forgive them, and then I get over the situation in its entirety. Okay, so I feel like that's pretty much all I'm gonna talk about when it comes to dating. I might circle back and answer some like last minute questions, because I did ask you guys on Instagram to send me some last minute questions, but otherwise we're gonna move on to the next like really popular topic, which is friendships. So this question says, I assume you were the problem in your past friendships. I definitely own up to the parts that I played in my past friendships where I wasn't the best version of myself. Now, do I take all of the blame? Absolutely not. But I do have to hold myself responsible and hold myself accountable for the fact that I was dealing with my own sense of unworthiness, which caused me to really shrink myself in situations where typically I was around people that were extremely confident and extremely self-assured. And when you shrink yourself, sometimes you can put yourself in a position where you do kind of get walked on. When you're around somebody who's really sure of themselves and you are presenting a shrunken, self-conscious version of yourself that you don't really present outwardly, like, I don't know, on a YouTube channel, people may feel uneasy because they don't know if they have to like reassure you. They don't know if you're just shy, if you're socially awkward. Like, they don't really know like how to handle you, because they didn't think that that's how you really felt about yourself, because that's not how you make it look like you feel about yourself. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but I definitely have to take accountability for not showing up as my full self. I've definitely become a lot more firm, a lot more outspoken, not in a bad way, but a lot more confrontational as I've gone to therapy and like healed and grown. And I'm really proud of the woman that I am today. And a lot of options aren't on the table still, but I do feel like if some of those friendships were to occur again, I'm not sure who these people are now, but knowing who I am now, I'm a lot more sure of myself, and I'm a lot more confident that maybe we wouldn't have had the issues that we experienced, because I'm no longer a shrunken, self-conscious version of myself. So I put the onus on me. I take full accountability for that. All I can do is like grow and move forward. So yeah. That's how I feel about that. So this next question says, how do you find lifelong friends? I think you find lifelong friends by not looking, but also using manifestation. Just like you speak what you want for your mate, your friends are your mates too. Okay, y'all, so the sun went down. I just needed to bring a little bit more light into the room, but we're gonna hop right back in. My phone's like upside down. I assume you're disappointed in your YouTube growth. So just to be candid, I haven't been consistent like I really should have been this whole time, and I haven't provided enough variety. And if anything, I'm just disappointed in myself. You know, I got myself caught up in this vicious cycle of like posting the same content over and over and over and over again. And so it is time for a change, and it is time for something new. And then it's not lost on me that there are a lot of people that are creating content on YouTube, whether they're new or old YouTubers, that have explored different types of videos, and they've really stepped outside of that YouTube box. And basically what I'd been doing these past couple of years is what's always worked for me, and I was just a little timid and a little afraid and fearful to step outside of that box because I wasn't sure what else could work for me. But fortunately, I have an amazing group of A-listers, and you all have held space for me over these past few years. So I definitely owe it to you guys to go ahead and like buckle down, create a filming schedule, come out with some new content, and just throw things at the wall until we can get like 4 different things to stick. As Told by Ashley is something that I know you guys really, really enjoy watching. And if I can just come up with 3 other video concepts that you guys enjoy watching as much as Told by Ashley, I definitely feel like I can create that excitement here for myself again. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I assume you have some resentment towards your YouTube followers about how private you have to be. So I don't like the word resentment, but I do feel like you just won't know my boundaries unless I tell you. And so that is kind of the purpose of this video. I wanted you all to ask me your like boundary crossing questions to get to know me and to learn even more about me if you haven't been here, you know, the entire time. But once these questions are answered and, you know, boundaries are laid out, I want us as a collective to just move forward. After someone pretended to be a friend of mine and contacted my apartment locator in effort to figure out where I currently live. Even on a personal note, after I realized I wasn't able to fulfill the commitment I made to create content for Vlogmas or 12 Days of Christmas because of how I personally feel about the holiday season. After my dad was approached in a grocery store. After my mom and my little brother were sent invasive direct messages on Instagram, prying and asking personal questions about me simply because I don't talk about our relationship enough. Even after somebody linked with me on LinkedIn to gain access to my resume because they assumed that I put all of my working history on my resume, specifically the full-time job that I worked a couple of years ago, which is absolutely not on my resume. It's never been on my resume. But after all that happened, it just made me feel very, very uneasy about creating content surrounding my personal life. I was an overshare when I first started this platform, and I did involve my platform in a lot of my personal life, and I kept you guys updated. I feel like definitely a lot more than I do now. But every single time I feel like a boundary has been crossed or people knowingly go too far, for me personally, it just makes me withdraw even more, to the point where this is the first Q&A I've done, and I think the last 4 years I don't recall doing a Q&A. in the last few years. I think the last time I did a Q&A, I was in college. I still want to exist on this platform, and I want to enjoy myself on this platform, and I want to have boundaries while I'm doing it. And I'm just like politely asking that as a community, like, let's just try to honor that, you know? I want to honor showing up as my authentic self. I want to honor that, but I want to ask in return that my A-listers just match my energy. But the energy that I was putting out and then in turn receiving back just wasn't reaffirming. And so I'm definitely aware this isn't a safe space for personal business, because personal business is not anything other than tea. It's just gossip. It's just tea. It's just like, ooh, and people kind of gathering around with their popcorn. But like I said earlier, I can honor that commitment of showing up as my authentic self, and in exchange keeping my personal business to myself going forward. And then at that point, anyone who violates my very clear boundaries is doing so on purpose and out of sheer disrespect for me, and access will have to be revoked in that case. So the next assumption, I assume you want a 9 to 5. Ooh-wee. That's definitely a double-edged sword. Like, for sure, a double-edged sword. Honestly, anytime I've considered a 9 to 5, it's because I personally want my worth and my value to be tied to my intellect, to my talent, to my skill set, and not to my personal business, who I'm dating, what my skin looks like, my waist measurements, what I'm eating, who I'm hanging out with, seeing my dad a specific amount of times, updating you on my mom constantly, talking about my family. Like, I want to be paid for what I got my degree in, which is business, and not people's opinions of me. But doing what I do and then having a 9 to 5, like, both have their pros and their cons. And if you're not careful, the grass can look greener on either side depending on which grass you're watering, obviously. But as it stands, I am extremely grateful and I am extremely blessed to do what I do now, and I want to continue to occupy this space. Very quickly, this next question says, did you have your teeth done, or are they naturally that pretty? I really appreciate you saying, are they naturally that pretty? I've never had anything done to my teeth. These are all, do we have 34 or 32 teeth? However many teeth you're supposed to have, all of them are 100% mine. I have braces, and I got my braces like my senior year of high school, and I got them off my sophomore year of college. So that's why my teeth look the way that they do. I also have a 5-step oral hygiene routine that keeps my teeth nice and white. So yeah, thank you so much. But no, I don't have veneers. I've never got any dental work done. So this next assumption is kind of heavy. My assumption about you is that you don't forgive / you hold on to certain situations. Whew, that's heavy. Oh my gosh. So I will say that in the past, I was very transparent, and I did find it difficult to let go and move on from certain situations. I definitely owe a lot to my therapist, to my dad, and just my own personal growth and just my self-awareness, because not only am I able to forgive, but I'm able to show a lot of empathy, and I'm also able to extend grace, which forgiveness was one thing, but empathy and grace. So the fact that I understand the concept of forgiveness, and then I'm able to also just like extend that empathy and extend that grace, it makes me just feel so much better as a person. And honestly, there are situations that I used to constantly mull over that you guys don't hear me talking about at all. And I even really try to avoid it if anybody brings it up. I don't really like to rehash situations, and not in a sweep it under the rug kind of way, but in a way that like I truly have made peace with so much, and I never in a million years imagined that I would get to this place. I feel peace, and I'm able to feel forgiveness and what that feels like to extend it to other people, but most importantly what it feels like to extend it towards myself. Yeah, I'm not that person anymore, and it feels really, really good to say that. So the next question is, will you go back to therapy after COVID, or are you still going? I am still going, baby. I've been going to therapy since the beginning of 2018. I did switch my therapist when I got off of my dad's insurance and got onto my own insurance plan, because I had to find a therapist that was just a little bit more affordable. So I was able to find a really, really, really amazing therapist, and yeah, I've been going to therapy since 2018. Another question. Recently, one YouTube content creator stated that most creators are lonely. Do you feel that way? I can, for sure. I can definitely feel lonely. I'm very comfortable living alone. Obviously, living alone in a global pandemic is something I've never dealt with before, so that's really new for me and it's really different. But I think as a content creator specifically, I can feel alone. So like usually when I'm filming, I just can't have anybody on FaceTime with me. I can't have anybody here with me unless I'm filming with them. Like if it's Cindy or like my parents or whatever, or like my friends, if we're doing some type of like group video, that's the only time. But anybody who's not in the video, like they can't make any noise. So it can get kind of lonely because it feels like the entire work process you have to do it by yourself. The only time that I'm able to be around other people and not have them like be a distraction to me when I'm editing or interrupt me or prevent me from really filming and giving you guys my undivided attention is once the video has been uploaded and I'm like filling in the description box and I'm creating the thumbnail, then I can be around other people. You know what I'm saying? But it just feels like my entire work process from like filming and editing and uploading is something that I have to do by myself, and in certain circumstances, in certain cases, it's something that I have to do in the quiet. So the fact that like there's no music, I can't have the TV on, like I can't watch Moesha right now because, you know, I'm talking to you guys. And once I'm editing, I can't hop on FaceTime because I have to listen to myself. I have to really go through this audio. So I can't hop on FaceTime, I can't watch Moesha because I'm editing. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand why somebody would say it gets lonely. I definitely feel loneliness too, especially with the work process, like specifically the work process itself. So vlogging, not so much. I don't really feel lonely when I'm vlogging because I can like vlog around other people, no problem. The next question. Do you plan to have a family in the near future? If so, do you have a timeline? Ooh. So I will never say never. Very brandy of me, right? But at this moment in my life, I don't personally believe that specifically marriage, but also motherhood is something that I can put a timestamp on. I admit, okay, I was a pick-me, but back in those days, my plan, my timeline, what did you say? My timeline was get married at 23, have kids at 25. I'm 27. So obviously that plan was hilarious. But just not realistic at all whatsoever. Marriage and motherhood, and for me, it would go hand in hand. Not to get like too deep or whatever, but I just don't feel super maternal. Motherhood isn't something that I feel like you guys hear me talking about. For me, the way that I approach motherhood is from somebody who is like going to therapy, doing their inner work, healing their childhood trauma. I have a very clear and very level-headed understanding of what it is that I want my marriage and like motherhood to look like. And I don't want it to look like, yes, I did it before 30. I personally just can't run the risk of just doing it to meet a timestamp, basically. That's what I'm saying. I can't put something so precious on a timeline. I want to be healed. I want to be healthy. I don't want to pass down any unhealed trauma to my children or my child, and I don't want to go into a marriage excited that I did it before 30, that I got married before 30, and not go into a marriage as a whole person, marrying a whole person with a moral code, with a true commitment to not only one another, but to our child or our children, with an understanding that we have like goals that we want to meet individually, goals that we want to meet as a couple. I just think that it's really, really, really important. And I think that's such a huge milestone that is not something that I can put like any type of timestamp on. I want to be a phenomenal wife, and I want to be an even more phenomenal mother. And the only way I want to become a mother is because I am so deeply in love and I'm with somebody who is just so amazing. I'm so amazing. And we both mutually want to bring a child into this world that is half of him, half of me, and just going to be even more amazing than the two of us as individuals. And I really don't ever want to put any type of plans or expectations on long-term commitments like homeownership, marriage, or motherhood. The only thing I can guarantee is that I will leave my heart open. That's it. So I did get a question that reads, would you ever do a training course for new YouTubers? I did say that I wanted to do something along those lines like 3 years ago. I had a course called Impress the Interviewer, and I basically just talked about everything that I did to land my full-time job, just speaking from experience to help anybody that was looking for a full-time job at that point. Obviously, that information isn't applicable anymore, at least I don't think it is, so that course isn't offered. But at the same time, I did say I wanted to do like a YouTube course, and at this point, I don't think I would do a YouTube course because Jayla Corian has a YouTube course, Patricia Bright has a YouTube course, and there's one more person, I believe her name is Jordan Cheyenne, but I'll put them on the screen because I can't remember Jordan's name, but I think it's Jordan Cheyenne. She has a YouTube course for sure. There's also Maddie James, who is extremely helpful when it comes to just like your online presence and like your personal brand. So there's so many amazing infopreneurs out there already that I feel like those are just great places to start. And if you had any specific questions for me in regards to YouTube, let me know, and then I can just make a YouTube video about it. The next assumption, I assume that you're happy to remove anything taking away peace and tranquility in your life. Now, yes. Definitely yes. I used to be really fearful of looking like the problem, looking like the issue. But at this point, I've realized that I looked like the problem and I looked like the issue because most times I lacked discernment. I feel like there's an inner circle, and there's like a level 2 and there's a level 3 for relationships, connections, friendships, whatever, however you want to label it. And what I used to do is just throw everybody in the inner circle. Anybody who was anybody who wanted to have a connection with me, a friendship with me, a relationship with me, they would go right into the inner circle. And then as their true colors revealed themselves, then I would push them to like level 2 or level 3 when that doesn't really make any sense. So obviously like now I have some pretty firm boundaries, and I really start people at like level 3, level 2, and you have to really work your way into my level 1, which is my inner circle. So if you're at level 2, level 3, and you're not even, honoring my boundaries, and we're not serving one another, and there's no peace there, I feel like, you don't really like me, or we're butting heads and we're adults and we really shouldn't have to butt heads like this. Anything that feels uneasy, anything that doesn't feel like smooth sailing, unfortunately, it just has to go. Well, not even unfortunately, it just has to go. It doesn't really matter how it makes me look, and I truly don't care how it makes me look. I used to, but I just don't get preoccupied with that anymore. The way people perceive you is the way that they're going to perceive you. And, you know, I would rather have peace and tranquility and live a life that's not messy or dramatic and have people perceive however they want to perceive, as opposed to keep up appearances so people think that I'm this way and I'm really just miserable, you know? So that is a correct assumption. I assume you are way too nice, and sometimes people take advantage of that. Yeah, but the onus is on me, like I said. Number one, the reason I would be way too nice is because I was a people pleaser and I wanted people to like me and I wanted people to want to be around me. And I felt like a surefire way for people to want to be around me is to give them extravagant gifts, is to constantly give them rides to places, is to just go above and beyond for them. And so when it felt like I was being taken advantage of, really it was me doing something that people didn't ask of me. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever given somebody a gift and somebody's like, oh wow, you really shouldn't have, because like you really shouldn't have, because I wasn't ever thinking about getting you anything. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're thinking, like, wow, now do I have to get her something? So I kind of feel like I was being way too nice because I was trying to be a people pleaser, because I was trying to prove my worth to people. I was trying to show people like, hey, you really want me in your life because I do so much for people. And really, you just got to like sit back and just see if you really connect with the person before you go out of your way for somebody. So I definitely used to be way too nice, but really at this point, I'm just kind. I truly don't feel taken advantage of at all, you know, but I'm just saying, like, I don't feel that way anymore, because I ditched my people-pleasing habits. I assume you may be moving to a different state soon. That is incorrect. I'm not going anywhere. Do the hurtful self-image comments from people still bother you? I definitely have put up boundaries so that I don't have those feelings. You absorb what you choose to absorb. So if you don't want to absorb something, you absolutely don't have to. And for me, it was never hit dog holler. It was never like, oh, why would you be upset that somebody called you ugly if you don't think that you're ugly, unless you think you're ugly? And it's just like, no, it's not that. It's just like, for me, I'm extremely sensitive and I try to maintain a very cold, hard exterior, you know, kind of like bitchy to an extent, because I never wanted people to know just how sensitive I am. Because even in adulthood, it feels like some adults have that like elementary school mentality where like you show people a weakness and they just like let the chopper sing, and it's like they just like start like AK-47ing you in that area, for no other reason than they know that it bothers you. Like I said, it wasn't hit dog holler. I'm just really sensitive, and so I decided like to just not absorb things that I don't want to absorb. Are all the wigs an insecurity thing? Absolutely not. I actually have videos on my channel for your viewing pleasure. I just recently did a natural hair wash day that was sponsored by Head and Shoulders, and then I showed my my side part ponytail. You got to see like my natural hair in its entirety, but then I did add some African mall bundles to it. But it's definitely not an insecurity thing. It's as a Black woman, like, we all have a choice on what we're gonna do with our hair, and I've never really given a lot of like attention or thought to, well, if you have a head full of hair, what you wearing wigs for? Because I have a head full of hair because I wear wigs. I'm all about my healthy, natural 4C hair, but I'm also all about my glueless wigs. So I just love the versatility of my glueless wigs. And I find that if I wear my hair out a lot, I just play in it too much, and then I'm really scared of like my hair breaking and like shedding and stuff like that. So keeping it under the glueless wigs is actually helping me maintain the health of my hair and length as well. Would you ever go on the show Married at First Sight? Well, I didn't sign an NDA or anything, so I guess I can tell you guys this. I was actually like approached to be on the show Married at First Sight, like the actual show when they came to Dallas. I turned it down. So no, I wouldn't go on a show. Are you an introvert? Do you have only child syndrome if you're an only child? Toxic mom's thoughts. I lean more so on the introvert side of the spectrum, but technically I would be classified as an ambivert, because while I am an introvert, I do recharge by myself. I'm an ambivert because I'm extremely social when I am out, and I run my battery out, so it looks as though I'm an extrovert because of how social I am. But once my social battery has run out, I need to be by myself to recharge it. So ambivert. Do I have only child syndrome? No, I don't think so at all. The way that my dad raised me was chef's kiss, because I'm very much so like, I love to share. I have absolutely no problem sharing. While I do love my personal space, I do enjoy having company, and I enjoy spending like a lot of time with people, and I don't really find myself getting sick of people. So yeah, I don't really feel like I have only child syndrome. Do you plan to travel this year despite the pandemic? No, I do not. I don't see myself traveling internationally until like 2022. Domestically, maybe 2021, but I really have absolutely no desire to travel. I don't even want to go to Vegas, and that's so rare. But yeah, I don't want to go to Vegas. I don't want to go to Miami. I don't want to go on a cabin trip. I don't want to go to New York. I don't want to go to Atlanta. Like, I don't want to go anywhere. The assumption that was sent is that you're waiting for marriage. I assume that you pay 99.9% of men dust. Rightfully so. Hashtag protect your energy. I do pay most men dust, yes. I have, unfortunately, had my moments. So I've given my attention away, and I regret it, because it seems like with men, it just seems like they have a thrill of the chase mentality, and so they kind of like to stick their foot in the door and see if, number one, if the door is closed or if it's cracked, and if it's cracked, they kind of like peek their head in, and they just kind of want to see if it's possible to access you, if it's possible to gain that proximity. But once they obtain that access, they really squander their opportunity. I'm gonna go ahead and like keep my heart open and keep saying I'm open to dating, but I just really wish men would leave me alone if they didn't have the best intentions. But they're men, so what do you expect? What are 2 questions you hate answering? Personally, there are no questions that I hate. That's a very strong word. But there are questions that are so repetitive that I've answered before, and it kind of like perplexes me, like puzzles me, confuses me as to why they are constantly being asked. Questions about dating, I can kind of see why dating questions are asked, because I'm just not very open about my dating life at all whatsoever. I feel like this is the most I've ever said about my dating life in the past like 2 years. But more specifically, questions about like home ownership, questions about my parents, questions about certain friends. In addition to that, I do not like baiting questions, and I feel like I get them a lot on Instagram Live, so that's kind of something that I try to avoid. Those are questions that are asked in a condescending or disrespectful tone, specifically done so to stir up a negative reaction. So it's kind of like you know the answer already, but you're trying to stir up a negative reaction in me by asking me this baiting question, because you're very much so like, I'm gonna get on her nerves, I'm gonna get under her skin, I'm gonna bother her by asking her this question. You know what I'm saying? So because that has bothered me, I've just made the active decision to no longer give those types of questions any of my energy at all whatsoever. Why don't you wear jewelry? The very simple answer to that is because I just don't really care for it. Because I worked at Windsor and I felt like it was really gaudy to have to wear like 3 pieces of jewelry every time I go into work. So I usually wore like earrings, necklaces, and a bracelet or a watch. But then I went to work at Hooters and I couldn't really wear any jewelry at all, and I had to have this very like minimal girl next door look, something very similar to this. And I really loved that look a lot more when I was working at Hooters. So yeah, the simple answer is that I just don't care for it. That is my Q&A, you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give this video a big huge thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below letting me know if you like Q&A videos and you would like me to do more just like sitting down, kind of like talking to you guys like this videos. If you want advice videos, if I answered your question, let me know in the comment section down below. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section as well. Don't forget to subscribe and join the A-list, and give this video a big huge thumbs up. Turn on the post notification bell so you don't miss any of my new uploads. And until next time, stay beautiful, stay safe. I love you guys. Bye. Mwah.